After 1 week down, we only have one game this week, played two last week, and just want to make an appeal to fans. It's not only that we want your support, it's we need your support against what I believe is going to be a really good game on Thursday night against a old Missouri Valley foe. So anxious to prepare, ready to get going, and really do believe it'll be a good basketball game as well as hopefully a good basketball environment.
I guess after that Prairie View game, you said it was hard to nitpick 43-point win. I guess, was there anything on film that kind of stood out to you?
Yeah, we can't. I mean, we're defensive rebounding at a 70% rate, and it's not good enough. We need to be around the 75% rate, and I know, when you deal with one and two, three possession basketball games, that stuff makes a difference. So to not perform up to caliber against UNC Asheville and to do the same thing again, a lot of it is we're behind the plays. Our pick and roll coverage is not what it needs to be. It's not where it needs to be, and you'll find ourselves behind the plays, and it's causing us to not defensive rebound at the level that we should. So we need to get our on ball stuff right, and that's going to be a huge part of Thursday night's game.
I saw you guys are limiting assists on defense like really well. I think second in the country. Is that a result of the opponents you're playing, or is that something you guys are making concerted effort to do to try to limit those?
Yeah, it's not anything that you ever talk about. It's not that you go into a season. What we talk about is a good shot is off the bounce, not in the paint, right? Like you can't take away everything. And players need to know this is what we're going to end up giving up. And just because they miss the shot doesn't mean we play good defense. And just because they make it doesn't mean we played bad. We did not defend the paint with all five guys very well against Prairie View. Just that ball got there way too much because we were way too extended. So you have to fan out on certain personnel, and so we did a good job off of number three and number five the other night. Tay Joseph and Doug are really good players, and they finished the game 1 for 10 from three. But we don't need to. We're too hugged up on too many people, and we're not defending the paint at the caliber that we need. All of that to say, I mean, you've been around basketball enough to understand that if you can get teams to play ISO basketball, you can kind of thwart some of the opportunities that are extended. That the more the ball's dribbled, the less energy there is, the less flow. The more that ball moves, the tougher the rotations and everything extended. So we've never set out to be, hey, let's not give up assisted buckets. What we have set out to do is we need to defend the paint with all five guys, and we're not doing that right now. The ball, the ball can't get close to the rim, right? And so we're just not doing that. So it's leaving us in a lot of ISO situations, but that's to our advantage. It's just the ISOs are coming off the bounce in the paint, and that's not good.
What do you like about the ball movement so far offensively? Have you seen anything that you like in that area, or is that still a work in progress?
I mean, it's all a work in progress, but I do think that you don't see the ball sticking a lot. Like, I mean, we've got to get on guys sometimes about that ball moving and putting guys in a position. But what the game demands, good players supply. And you go back to Kenyon Giles the other night, and he had the 5 threes there in the first half, 5 of 6, and was able to make shots. But in the second half, he's going to get a lot of attention. And he wasn't selfish. He wasn't hunting. Our offense was actually more efficient. I've been around some really good players and had the privilege to coach some All Americans. And what I've always shared with the others is it is such an asset to have a guy like that on the court because he demands so much other of their people's attention that you're going to get gaps in areas that you can get to the paint and allow yourself to create because of a player like Kenyon Giles. And so for us, I don't think that again the ball is sticking like the ball's moving, and sometimes we need to do a better job as a coaching staff. I mean, I'll be really transparent here. We don't run much for KG. Like, we don't do a lot for KG1 because he just naturally scores. We haven't had to run a bunch. And so we knew that during this whole install stage that KG was going to be able to find shots on his own. He just naturally does it. And we've got a few things in, but as we level up and put more and more stuff in for him in order to disguise and get him shot opportunities, it's incumbent upon everybody that the ball gets shared. And I think we've done that. Sometimes when guys make shots, they start hunting shots, and he hasn't been that way as we saw there in the second half against Prairie View.
What surprised you just through 2 games of the season? I know it's still early on, but it's maybe something that you've been pleased with, something you've seen from your team that you're like, man, I've seen this pretty early. This is pretty
Yeah, the leveling up after each time out, after each halftime, I thought that we've gotten better. I think players have responded. They've done a great job of asking questions, and it's been cohesive. It isn't just, man, you know what, that guy leveled up, and it was just one guy. You've seen them all go out as a unit and then be able to execute some opportunities, whether it be late games, whether it be some ATOs. They haven't all been clean, but I think they've responded really well. And you pay a great deal of attention to that, probably more attention to that than you do anything else, simply because you're not going to overreact positively, negatively on the first week of November. Like, this is a long year, and you need to make sure you're doing the right things in March. And so to know that this is the case, this is our floor right now, and the truth is you get better, you get worse. You just don't stay the same, and it's so important. I think our players would tell you that our practice after we played UNC Asheville was pretty hard, because you don't want to see contentment. You don't want guys to think that this is okay, like just doing a little bit of the right things occasionally. Like, how consistent can we constantly make this? So it's been a plus in how they responded, whether it be in game or whether it be at practice.
this team quite athletic as well. Do you remember some points through these first 2 games where the athleticism has led to some key buckets and key moments?
I thought the play that one, Karan Boyd makes a cut. TJ feeds him off of what we would call from the 45, what we would call a burn cut. He gets a burn cut, but it's the placement of the defender that allows it. Do we work on it? Yes. Is it in a situation to where it's just rote and, hey, this is what you do when the ball changes sides and you cut to a two? Do we automatically burn? And the answer to that is no. And so he just saw a guy that was high nail playing really, really up, and he cut behind the defender. You see a lot of teams do that. North Texas was known for just how nail oriented they are in regards to their help, and we were able to get some cuts behind their defense last year with Corey Washington. But I thought that play was really good because it's organic and they can kind of floor map. I do think the other thing that's been good in regards to is, like, we haven't initiated plays without the floor mapping. You get players that go up there and they just run stuff, and the floor is not sequenced in the way that it needs to be. And players, because the game is moving so fast, just don't understand the significance of making sure the floor is mapped properly. And I think I've seen that. And so the athleticism that's been showcased has been because guys have understood that winning is in the details, and they've done that. Like, the details have mattered to this group in order to showcase. But that play in particular, we've challenged Karan. Not only do you need to be the best defender, and we're going to put you on multiple people during the course of the game. Sometimes it's going to be a point guard. Other times it may be a forward. We don't know. Night in and night out, other teams' best player is different. But you also need to be the best rebounding guard on the court, and really pleased with how he's kind of taken on that ownership role. And to be honest, he's done it.
I don't know much has changed, on the injury front with those, 4 guys that were out. Jared Valencia, I imagine, still day to day. Any other updates for those other 3?
Yeah, no, I don't think. Ty Mays is Rathan Mays is going to redshirt. Pierre Cousinard is going to redshirt. So both of those guys are red shirts, and they'll be phenomenal for us, especially in scout teams. They already have been, and really proud of both of them. They've just been very mature. I think watching TJ Williams helps. Now this was a decision made, but I think watching TJ's progress and understanding that, I mean, to be frank, TJ wouldn't have played last year. Wouldn't have played much last year just because Ronnie DeGray was an older guy. Corey Washington was an all-conference player coming over, and he would have had to have kind of like got in here and there and had opportunities. Those guys were just ahead of him. This is where I think that coaches lie to players, and they say if you get better at A, B, and C, you'll get an opportunity to play, and it's not true. You have to be better than the person in front of you. So Paul Mills could go get better at A, B, and C, but if Luka Doncic is in front of him, it doesn't matter how much better Paul Mills gets. He's not playing in front of Luka. And so we try to be really honest with our guys and just where they're at. And I will tell you, watching TJ's progress helps those other guys. Jarrett just worked out. We'll see. He worked out the other day, and then Joy is probably still a week or two away. Hope to make it a realistic timeline by the time he gets in shape, everything that hopefully the first part of December.
Coach, have there been any kind of individual contributions that have stood out or surprised you so far?
I was happy with Mike's. So we run a baseline OB play for Mike that gets a really clean look against UNC Asheville. Doesn't make it, and Mike hasn't been around me long enough to does that mean that play is over with? Like, are we scratching that simply because I couldn't knock it down? And you had to reassure him that no, it's a great look. We trust you. And then we run the exact same play against Prairie View, and he knocks it down. And I think that is like the confidence at which players step into. And I don't know that it's any one individual. I thought Will's energy has been great. I think Drake Kendall's energy has been over the top great. I think the bench, our staff pays quite a bit of attention. We show the bench, we film the bench. There's clips of the bench and after just how engaged we are, and haven't sniffed anything that makes you worry. Now we haven't lost, and so usually with a little bit of adversity, there's going to be some true colors that begin to showcase itself that you have to address with the adults in the room when you're dealing with people like that, young players, but haven't had any issues. So the thing that stands out is how cohesive this team has been, and then how confident they've approached things. Whether things have gone their way or haven't.
Someone like Brian, clearly a better shooter than what he's shown so far. What's the message of someone like that who's maybe looking to maybe find his legs a little bit here?
Yeah, I mean, Brian's goal is to be a complete player. It's not just to be one-dimensional. We have to make sure that when Brian is in the game, not only are you adding value, but I'm locked in on the defensive end of the game. A lot of players only care about playing half of it, and so yes, we understand you have value making shots. We get that. Do you have what's referenced as apperceptive mass, right? Do I have this library of knowledge in order to go back to? You don't have Quran's library of knowledge. He's kind of been through the trenches, has done things, but at the same time, we need to be a complete player. Like we need to share the ball. We need to shoot the ball when we're open. We need to defensively hit. Going back to there's some pick and roll coverages that have got to get cleaned up. So all of that to say, don't just get focused on am I missing shots, right? Players have to operate within the 95% of the game. The 95% of the game, 5% of the game, you're going to have the ball in your hands, right? And there's a tendency to just think about that 5%. You have to operate in the 95%. So that's the message. Who cares, right? I mean, shots are going to go in, not go in. That doesn't really matter as much to us just because we understand the work that you put in. What you have to do is operate in the 95%.
Into
One, it's a former Missouri Valley foe, and so I think it's one team that that there's a history there. People are familiar with this group, are familiar with the fact that they've really asserted themselves in the Atlantic 10, and after they when Wichita State left, just dominating the Missouri Valley. It was Loyola-Chicago who kind of stepped up and just started dominating the Missouri Valley. I mean, good enough to go to a Final Four. So just a really good basketball team, a wonderful history. And now that they've gone to the Atlantic 10, you've seen them really just get better and just who they are on the national scene. They have an elite level big in Miles Rubin. They have an elite level point guard, and so we're going to find ourselves in these 1-5 pick and rolls that are really going to put us in a number of compromising positions because they put so many shooters out there. And they let their elite level five do what he does, and Miles Rubin, and they let their elite level point guard do what he does, and that is drop dimes all over the place. It's why he's top 50 in the country, and they have elite level shooting. I know I actually wish they would have won. I wish they would have won the game against North Texas. I wish they would have won the past two because I know how desperate and hungry a team is after you drop a couple. And so to get a chance to prove yourself on the road, like this is going to be not only a heck of a matchup, but it's going to be a heck of a fight on Thursday night.
You mentioned before about just like how good of a person Wilberg is. I was just curious, like if you have examples of just like just learning like who he is as a person, just what stands out about him, and what you like about just his personality and character.
Yeah, I mean, good people make good players, and I'm a big believer in that. That knuckleheads will get you beat, because they'll eventually quit on you, and they don't want to do the hard things. And I mean, at 7'2", he's down on the court getting a 50-50 ball, and it's kind of a testament to his commitment. But I think that if you just look at him, he's got all these tats of lilies because he had a mom that passed away at a really early age, whose name was Lily. And he's been through a lot that most young men haven't had to go through. And he has high character. He's remained patient. He's extremely patient. Noah, when he first came here, Noah was fouling like there were no rules involved, that this was, rugby. And you're trying to rein him in. And I said, Will, just really impressed with your composure. He's a young kid. Some of it is he's frustrated, and then some of it at the same time is he also just doesn't have a library of knowledge. And he said, I did the same thing to Zach Eady. And I was frustrated, and I didn't understand the verticality you needed to play with in order to not hack. And I've sent those clips of those two battling to some NBA friends and just asked their opinion, and all of them have responded. I cannot believe the composure of Will Berg, just because it's players are constantly competitive and trying to prove themselves. And I would tell you, I think he's been through a lot, and you can kind of tell on account of his history that he has measured responses, right? When you deal with young kids and you deal with emotional guys who are really young, if you ever watch them behind closed doors, their responses aren't always measured. You'll figure that out as your children get older. But as the dad to teenage girls, I can tell you that responses aren't always measured. And for competitive guys, I'm really, really I kind of sit there and go, wow, like he's handling that really well. And he's been through a lot, and his responses are measured, and it's a tribute to his composure and his poise.
Talk about the local guys, staying the course under red shirts, TJ Williams, and even to a larger extent, Henry Fangbaugh getting some minutes there in his previous game. What did that mean to see him out on the court for everything he's been through and kind of loyalty he showed at this place?
Who is that? Who are you talking about? Both of those guys?
Henry.
Yeah, I mean, Henry could leave. I mean, we've had players do that in the past. It's just I would like to play somewhere, and uh, I have meetings with all of the players 24 hours after our season has ended. And last year did it, and then come to find out we're in the NIT, and so it's like, hey, we need to gather again. But He's all in. Like he gets it. We had a situation this summer where it was the end of camp and 5 o'clock, and sometimes a parent is late for a variety of reasons, coming from work or didn't know that dad was going to pick you up rather than mom. And I see this guy walking down in these chinos and this polo at 6'5", and I was like, oh, one of the dads, is here for the last remaining child, and it was Henry. And I didn't realize his silhouette was as young as it was until he got closer. But he had just come from his internship. He was walking in here at 5:15. Camp ended at 5 in order to get in his 500 shots for the evening. And like I mean, this is June, and so he's committed. Like you've asked your players to be fully committed, and he's committed. And so when they get opportunities like that to showcase their ability, Henry's a good player. And I remember after the game, he just came up and he said, "Thanks for running so many plays for me." And I was like, "You got some good looks," and we got some opportunities there. I thought the curl off of the pin down when he saw the guy trailing was really impressive, and thought he was going to get a layup out of it. It was a heck of a pass by Dre, but at the same time, it was a right read by Henry. And again, Henry adds tremendous value to our team.
Yes, I talked a little bit about Loyola, but what else has kind of stood out from film you've seen so far?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is they can really apply pressure defensively. I mentioned their ability to shoot. I mean, they've got multiple guys out there who can knock down north of 38% and are amongst the top in the country. Got an elite level point guard, got one of the premier shot blockers in the country, and does just a phenomenal job of defending the paint. But they can change their pressure. Like they can totally eliminate a guy. They have versatility to where they can switch 1 through 5, and then they can push up on multiple people and just let you sit back and say, "Here's Miles Rubin. We're going to channel everything towards him. Deal with it." And so they've got a variety of styles that they can play from a defensive standpoint that make it challenging because you're just not going to be in this flow that you think you're going to be.
And I guess, what kind of test do you see this as so early in the season?
Well, it's a good one. One, because they have really good players in the front court and the back court. Well, we saw that a little the other night where you had an elite level wing in Cameron Taylor, and Toyaz Solomon is projected Big South Player of the Year. And then, the other night I thought the guards at Prairie View were good. Just from an interior standpoint, it's just not how they play. They don't play through their interior. So defending one-on-one was a big deal. This is going to present different challenges. Is that they have wings that can shoot. They have an elite level point guard who can pass and get to the rim, and they have an all conference big. So like they're covered. 1 through 8 is they have multiple pieces who can turn around and present a lot of problems that put you in a number of compromising situations.
Looks like Dre and E-Man have a nice two-man game. Chemistry going. Just tell me about like the tempo that they run that with. It seems like they're operating pretty high level already.
Yeah, but E-Man puts a lot of force on the rim, can kind of get out of things and play with force after he initiates the over off the pick and roll coverage. We just keep trying to encourage Dre to hit the gas. Like, let's take advantage of your speed. Let's turn around and let's stretch that big. And if that big gets stretched enough, you can kind of lob it up, and E-Man can go fetch it. Dre's done a good job with his pocket passes, and then allowed E-Man to play downhill. We saw that earlier when we played Santa Clara and Denver. I thought those two were really on point, and I think it'll progress more and more. But there has been a showcase of it a little bit early. And I thought the one the other night against UNC Asheville, where Dre was able to get through the free throw line and hit E-Man off of a bounce pass. I thought that kind of initiated a little bit of a run there that allowed us to get going.
Anything else? All right.
Thanks, guys.